I
for
want to talk
sure.
about microphones because every time I go on like the Twitch subreddit or the Mixer subreddit, there's going to be like 9 questions at least every day of what microphone do I get? What do I use? And every YouTube video that like explains the differences never really give a definitive answer on that.
Right.
Um, so I kind of want to talk about that and give you the definitive answer of what microphone should you use. Now, if you're already an audiophile and you know about mics, you don't need to care about this, but it still might give you a little bit of insight. And so I guess your question was USB versus XLR.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Uh,
just like what's the difference? What should people be looking out for? Why should people care about the differences like that? Just like just a little bit of a conversation piece on those two different mics.
yeah, so USB mics, it's pretty easy. A USB cable plugs into the mic, the other end plugs into the computer. You're good to go. Nothing crazy. You usually have like 1 or 2 knobs on the microphone itself for the level. And honestly, if you don't know much about mics or anything, that is the one that I would recommend.
Like me.
It's easy to set up, and it's kind of a little bit foolproof. If you're looking for a little bit more flexibility, XLR mics, you do require an interface to plug into, and then the interface plugs into the computer.
So that interface is like a physical like mixer kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But you don't necessarily need to go that route. What I like to tell people is when they're trying to figure out what mic to use is like, what is your goal for audio?
Right.
If you're a streamer and your goal is to just be heard on stream and have it not sound like garbage, you probably already have what you need with your gaming headset, honestly.
Right.
Uh, if you want to improve that a little bit, you can upgrade to like a Blue Yeti, which like the USB one, which is what you use, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And those sound great on stream. If you want to go a little bit farther, then you can look into buying a mixer, buying an XLR microphone, and going from there.
So is the biggest difference with the USB and the XLR mics just like your um available options for what you can get yourself to sound like, I guess? Like is that like as far as like adjusting bass and treble and gain and all that kind of stuff? Like are there just more options with the XLR mic because you have that mixer or
Yeah, and you don't always have those options. Like if you have a very basic USB interface that you plug your microphone into, you might only have gain.
right.
I know my Yamaha mixer, I have EQ and compression built into it, which is really nice. I don't have to do that in OBS or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I guess really the point I want to get across is you don't need to spend money to get good quality on stream. Because when you stream, you have a very limited quality cap with Twitch and Mixer and all the platforms. So
Right.
if you buy like I don't know, let's say the one I'm using right now, this is like $130. And in my opinion, it sounds great on stream. It sounds great for the podcast. It is built for podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
If you bought, say, like a $4,000 Neumann U87, while yes, that microphone sounds a whole lot better, but because you're streaming, because it gets compressed, because the bit rate is so low, the user on the other end isn't gonna hear a difference anyways.
Right. So there's only a certain level of quality you can even get to as a streamer.
Yeah.
So there's a diminishing returns factor at a certain point, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with you see a lot of streamers with the Shure Sm7b.
Right.
Uh
By far the most
absolutely
popular microphone, right?
absolutely incredible. Super expensive. Again, might piss off a lot of people. You're buying that mic because it looks good on stream.
Right.
It
Yeah.
it's not gonna actually make your sound any better than using one of these $100 microphones. I'll be demoing. I have a second microphone beside me that costs $20.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of like demonstrate that the differences for this purpose, which is just talking,
Right.
aren't huge. The microphone differences really come into play when you're singing or when you're recording instruments, when you really can take advantage of, instruments with nuances and stuff like that. But
Right. Like
if you're just streaming, you could, if you're streaming, like it really doesn't matter.
right. Like with music and certain instruments and voices and instruments and voices, you're looking to pick up every little tiny detail, right? Whereas with streaming, you're kind of like you're just picking up someone talking for the most part. Like,
and your goal at the end of the day with streaming is to be heard,
right?
Like,
so
and not have it sound like garbage.
right. So as long as you don't have like one of those, phone jack Walmart microphones from 2002 that you plug into the pink slot on the back of your computer, you're probably fine, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're a new streamer who just wants to up their audio game a little bit, and doesn't have a lot of knowledge in setting up a mixer, setting gain properly, go pick up a USB microphone and start from there.
Yeah.
Because you can get them pretty inexpensive and they're going to sound just fine. Now, where you might want a better microphone, I know there's a lot of streamers that do more like broadcast style. Like if you have a very good voice for broadcast, then there definitely is an argument to buy a better microphone like the Pod Mic or the SM7B. But generally, those people already know and aren't looking for a video like this anyways. So
right, like if you do just chatting and what you do is more like you're it's all about your voice, and the whole point of your channel is your voice and you talking or you singing or whatever it may be, then those higher end microphones can kind of shine a little bit more. But even still to that point, you are still limited by bit rate and all that kind of stuff, right? So even like the richest people in the world aren't with the absolute best gear, still aren't getting maximum performance out of the piece of equipment that they're using because Twitch limits what you can even get to, right?
Yeah, like streaming, there is quality cap, but there's definitely streamers that take advantage of really good dynamic microphones like the SM7B to get like that low end kind of like boosted kind of, I don't know what the term is,
but that's just like if you have
sexy,
like that,
sultry
if you have
sounding,
nice
and close up,
and
that's kind of like the goal that they go for. That's part, like having that sound is a part of their stream. It's part of like what they offer. But if your whole offer is just like you just want to be heard, then don't go and spend $1,000 on audio gear.
Right. Like there's a certain point you can get to where like you said, fair enough, if people are looking to take it that much further. And again, like we've said on the podcast before, like people can spend their money on whatever the hell they want. Like I don't care. You know what I mean? But if your only goal, like you were saying, like that's a perfect way to put it. If the only goal is to be heard and not sound like ass, then you can just get a regular USB mic, Blue Yeti, whatever it may be, and you'll sound more than fine. Like you can add like through OBS and voice meter and stuff. You can add filters and a little bit of mixing and adjusting and that kind of stuff to get it to where it fits your voice best. It's not until you really want to dig into the nuances or you really want to really perfect the sound that you really need to get into the XLR level of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's something when you get started with a USB mic and you start listening back, you'll start hearing what you want to change in your voice and your audio.
Right.
And that's when you'll know, okay, maybe I want this mixer with this microphone. But if you're just getting started, like start with the basics. If you want to get started and have like, if you know you're going to be upgrading XLR in the future, you can think of getting. So I got a second mic beside me right now. It literally costs $20. It's a knockoff of the Sm7b, no, SM57 from Shure. I'm going to switch it on right now.
Yep.
So now you hear me through that microphone. This is $130 less than the pod mic that I was using prior.
Right. So like, and like,
in just a talking scenario right now, it'll sound different, but at the end of the day, it serves its purpose as like you can hear me. You can hear me, and that's like the whole point of this purpose.
Yeah, and like I'm sure anyone listening to this will there is a difference you can hear, but it's not like, oh my god, you're unbearable to listen to now. It's just like, okay, there is a little bit of a quality difference, but it's not so significant that if I was in your stream and you were using this mic instead of the better one, that I would leave. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, and I think that should be what people need to, like, I guess, realize. Like, I know, like, I want this mic because Shroud uses it, right? You know what I mean? Show me why. Like, people, everyone, like, so many streamers post their gear list, and then everyone's like, well, this is my favorite streamer, so I want everything that they have. It's like, well, you don't, like, these people have that stuff because, I mean, they've been doing it a long time. They're really successful. They have the resources to get those things. But if someone like Shroud were to use a Blue Yeti and you never ever seen what his microphone looked like, I don't think you would think any more or less of him as a streamer.
No, not at all.
Right.
And just as the last microphone demo, I'm now talking through a $250-ish blue Ember microphone.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
So 3 levels, 3 different prices. At the end of the day, if all you're doing is talking, it doesn't really matter.
Right. The microphone.
You'll be heard, and it'll sound good from the nearly $300 mic to the $20 mic.
Right. And like you said,
and
at the
beginning, real differences comes into when you're recording music and singing and stuff. Which, if you do, the Blue Ember here is a condenser microphone. Sounds great for streaming. Sounds great for singing.
Right. And have you used that microphone to record vocals and stuff?
Yeah. Okay, I'm back to the normal mic now. Yeah, the Blue Ember. So yeah, I guess to kind of wrap everything up on the microphone conversation a little bit. If you're new to audio, if you're new to streaming, don't go spending a lot of money. Don't get don't go buy a whole bunch of gear and get confused by it. Buy a nice, simple USB microphone. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
People will hear you. It's going to sound great.
Agreed.
And then upgrade from there. Once you know what you want, once you figure it out, go from there.
Yeah, step by step, for sure.
And I feel like if you know any stuff about audio, then you kind of know what you're going to want to buy anyways.
Yeah, if you're like an audio person anyway, then like, again, like you said earlier, like this, like those people wouldn't be here for that anyway. But it's good to always hear other people's opinions, I think, either way, right? And I think a lot of like people who are really in depth with audio wouldn't totally disagree with the whole idea that you can easily get by with a cheaper USB mic, especially when it comes to streaming, right?